they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way. It was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't going to jump off in there with Chris. He ain't going to do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico and buses.
doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking actions. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Ewell, Coleman, and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button? Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are. We actually changed things up a little bit. It's a little confusing. I got kind of discombobulated a little bit in my sharing and what I was doing.
You think discombobulated is a word that King David Montgomery would use? You think he talks like that?
I think if he could use a word or a phrase, I think it would be go to hell, because that's kind of the look that he gave us today. I don't understand why.
I don't either. I don't get it. I mean, the way he looked at us, I thought I was fixing to have an altercation with an umbrella that he was toting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're walking out to the parking lot from City Hall today, and there strolls in Queen David, and let's see. Oh, yeah, you asked him if he wanted to do an interview, and he just gave us this look like, you got to be effing kidding me.
I didn't take it that. I looked at it as he was hoping that I would, by him looking at me, self-destruct and just burst into a ball of flame.
Yeah, no kidding. And then As we got further into the parking lot, none other than Jeff Free was walking in. At least he did say hi. I said,
Well,
hey,
wait a
Jeff, and he
minute.
said hi. Or hey,
Did he-
guys, or whatever.
Did he actually say hi?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't hear that. I seen him make a hand gesture, but I didn't see him.
No, he actually said it very low key.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah, so
well.
I give him a little credit where it's due. He's actually my city councilman, of all things. I had never reached out to him. I guess I need to, because the ditches along Hickory Ridge, the city needs to come out and clean them out so that the water will flow down to the flat river like it's supposed to. It's not actually flowing real well. But anyway, I can't blame that on him, because I hadn't reached out to him about any of that yet. But you would think, did I tell you? I don't want to get too far.
I'm thinking there's a lot of people with that complaint today.
Well, probably so, but this is like every rain. Let me go off on a tangent for just a second, though. Did I tell you about the repaving of Hickory Ridge Drive?
Oh, wait a minute. Seems like I know something about this, but tell me the story again, because...
All right, the quick version is they repaved Hickory Ridge a few weeks ago. They came out and patched it with asphalt. I mean, not just they put some hot mix in some holes. Then they came back out and they did sections of it and patched it. And less than a week later, they stripped all that up and re-asphalted the entire thing. Now, I'm not griping, because they re-asphalted it. Granted, the garbage trucks are going to tear that up before too long. But it's the point that they patched, did hot mix patch. Then they came out and did the bigger patches. Then they stripped all that up and redid it again. And then they finally came out here a few days ago, last week, and striped it. So they did stripes. They did crooked stripes. I actually have video of that. I took video somewhere. And then took those stripes up in the same day and put the main regular stripes down. I just don't understand. Can somebody explain this to me? Was this a man-jack thing? I mean, it was city trucks, but I mean, what gives?
Well, you don't know. I mean, you'd have had to seen the Manchac logo on their shirt, I guess. I mean, but the Manchac people are driving city vehicles, I think.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell the difference between them these days.
I would have asked David if he would have talked to me today, but he didn't. He wasn't wanting to be real chatty for some reason.
He was not a chatty Cathy today at all.
And Chris Norris, I don't know. It was stank eye. It was the stank eye from hell.
Yeah. But we did have actually a good conversation, as it turns out. We got an interview that we're going to go through here in a little bit. And actually kind of may not be what everybody wants to hear, but was a good interview for us. I mean, heck, we got a glowing endorsement from
from
the mayor's administration.
Yeah, glowing endorsement. And, I mean, look, I got to tell you, there's a lot going on down there. And, but before we get on to, and if everybody wants to know, hey, we're going to talk about this police firefighter, or really, I don't know if I'd say the firefighter, but police pay raise, or salary issue. We're going to go all deep into this, because I got to tell you, it's full court politics right now. And I think that's the problem with all of this is that it isn't nothing but politics. And that's what's disgusts me and has always disgusted me about Bossier City is they treat public safety as politics. And
well, you did a fine job in your questioning that we're going to see in the interview here in a little bit. A fine job of raising those points. I mean, as a retired firefighter, you know it literally from the inside out, and I think you're absolutely correct. They're using the police and the firemen as political pawns, literally.
Yeah, but it begs the question, with kind of everybody has been seeing on social media, the firemen started putting out a push card about getting out and supporting the millage renewal. And, well, did all the firemen, did y'all hang your brother policemen out? Did y'all hang them out? I think we're going to talk about that a little bit here in just a minute. So
Yeah.
All the firemen, if y'all want to share it around the firehouse and and the police, y'all as well too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's time to get all on the same page here, and let's see who's where.
Yeah, and I just I got to give you credit here. I mean, you do a lot of good things for Bossier Watch and for Louisiana Watch, and now starting some with the Outdoor News. So, if you haven't subscribed, folks, go over to the Outdoor News, subscribe to that as well, on Louisiana Watch and all that. But I got to say, when you put that post up about the billboard, that one post has gotten more engagement than most of the other things we've posted, short of saying the words First Bossier. I mean, it's been shared. People are still commenting on it. It's been liked. It's been angry faced. I mean, the whole gauntlet of emotions on Facebook.
You know, I believe that. I mean, and I've got two ideas on that. Even there's people that they love public safety, they love the police, and I mean, there's people that just absolutely despise the police and hate the police, and I mean, look, I'm not going to say that I haven't been in that position where I've been I hate the police too. But when we need the police, regardless of whether you like them or you hate them, bottom line is you want them. And we got a problem in Bossier with our law enforcement, not with the officers, but with the administration of law enforcement in Bossier City.
Right.
And I can see why that post would have such a strong response to it, because the people that support law enforcement and want, to ensure that we have public safety in Bossier City, it's offensive to them that our elected officials are not doing their due diligence to ensure that, our police are taken care of, especially when every election they're making all these promises. It's always these promises. It's the way it's always been. And they continue to do that. And, it puts you and me and everybody, it puts our lives at risk by you're playing a political game with our safety. And I
Yeah,
think people find that offensive.
to me, it just, I don't know, it's puts more divisiveness into our first responders. Not just the police. We're kind of, I'm kind of lumping in the firemen, the firefighters into this a little bit as well, because playing politics with them like this and playing on the emotions and the heartstrings and all that, it puts a little bit, heck, not even a little bit, it puts a lot of divisiveness between those first responders and the police. Not the police department, that the police department would have divisiveness against us citizens, but it just pushes that narrative that, oh, hey, they don't think well enough of us to, or don't think we're doing a good enough job that we deserve an adequate pay raise. And it's this same old thing that happens every time. So I've got the post up. That's the billboard that the Fraternal Order of Police has been running. And boy, it's generated a whole lot of response.
It has generated a lot of response, and it's generated some political response. And we're going to have to go through all that. And some people, they say, in my opinion, they say one thing to the public and they say something else behind closed doors. And that I find even more offensive. And we may get into that here in a little bit. But, speaking of law enforcement and subject change a little bit, is everybody excited about getting rid of your inspection sticker?
Well,
I mean, so those dadgum popo don't write you up for having an expired inspection sticker?
Well, I will say I was really excited, and now I don't know. The wind has been let out of my sails a little bit, because, I'm not going to admit that my inspection sticker might have been expired or have expired quite a while ago. But if it were, I was all excited, because I thought, if I just wait a little bit longer, I won't have to worry about it anymore. And lo and behold, not so much.
Well, the $1 million question for everybody watching, and a lot of you high achievers out there, you're already going to know the answer, but they might be surprised that to really why that you're going to have to continue to buy an inspection sticker.
Yeah. So give me just a second here, and I'm saving a screenshot real quick. I'll get that video queued up. And let's see if I can switch over to it. I think this screen right here will get us there. Yeah. I have no idea why that screenshot's up there. Okay. Are we ready to play this video?
Yeah, let's hear. So let's hear. Y'all might have saw one of our posts, or even in the last show, and we were talking about, Larry Bagley's bill to abolish the inspection sticker and to get rid of it. That way, we all don't have to keep buying this stupid sticker to put on our car that serves no purpose just for the sake of making money. But
you go buy a brand new vehicle, and you got to have an inspection sticker. I mean, that's just dumb. All right, here we go. Tell me when to stop.
House Bill 344. Attorney Little, need you please read that in?
Yes, sir. House Bill 344 removes the requirement for motor vehicle inspection stickers.
Representative Bagley on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. I have been working on this, and the members of the state police are here behind me somewhere. We have had many meetings about all this to try to cover costs that they will lose, money they'll lose, as in some of the other legislation we've already passed that they're going to take a hit on. And I assured them that I would not cost them any money. And we have worked on trying to move some money around, still in the process of working money around. It's not there yet. So with that, I'm going to ask to voluntarily defer this bill, Mr. Acting Chairman.
Oh, great. Can I stop it?
All right. Now? Thank you, Representative Bagley.
Absolutely.
I just can't take any more of it.
That's the end of the story. Bottom line, he pulled the bill because they can't find the money to replace in the state police's budget. So bottom line is, you just heard it. The only reason you got the stupid inspection sticker is so that you can fund the state police.
Yeah, it's not about, look, of course, I'm getting on my soapbox again. It's not about safety or inspections or emissions or anything. It's literally about funding the state police. And nothing against our state police, but funding them on the backs of an inspection sticker that not only do you have to pay for the sticker that peels off half the time, you got to take the time to go down and get the thing and wait in line and blah, blah, blah and all that. And I know first world problems here, but it's just stupid.
Oh, it's absolutely stupid. Let me give you another stupid example. So like, my old truck is a farm truck, service work truck, and I have to drive out on the levees of the farm and go out there, and you cross over those levees. And when you twist and tweak that truck on those levees and I mean, that glass, it breaks every freaking time. Literally put a brand new windshield in that thing. I drove off the edge of that levee and it tweaked the truck, and that brand new windshield, like the day I'd put it in, cracked, bam, all the way across. Well, guess what? That brand new inspection sticker that you just got and, had to get a new one because you put the new glass in. Now you got to get another one. Well, guess what? You put a new glass in, you got to get another inspection. It's a money-making racket. It's a money-making racket.
Yeah, you termed it best right there. It is a racket, period.
So I hope they can find the money to replace this with for the state police, some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, and do away with that stupid inspection sticker.
Yeah,
it's got to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, but on the bright side, we still have constitutional carry coming July the 4th. So I'm happy about that.
And Julie Emerson, who I'll point out, I did talk to this past weekend at the Republican State Convention. Julie Emerson, her bill, there's a lot of people all, especially in public education, they're all hot and bothered about her bill, but it passed. It's going to be signed by the governor here shortly. She's going to come on the show.
Excellent.
Also, there's another bill. I thought
I thought constitutional carry was my favorite bill of this session, but I got to tell y'all, there's one out there, and we ain't got to go to it yet. We need to save it for after we talk about Bossier City because it's got Bossier City written all over it. All over it.
Could be,
but it's my favorite bill now. And there's going to be a call to action from us to everybody. I mean, this is what I hate doing that. Everybody, because everybody's always like, call your legislator, call your politician. Tell them do this or do that or whatever. No, seriously, this one you need to do it.
Yeah. Well, now I'm intrigued to hurry up and get through the rest of the show because I want to read this bill and see what it's about. I haven't actually read it yet, so
I think
I'm going to be learning and getting educated tonight.
This might be the most consequential bill filed this session. I really believe it.
Wow, that's impressive.
It'll have ramifications across the whole state, and every one of you. It's a constitutional amendment that every one of you are going to get to vote on. It'll be in your hands.
All right. Well, let's go ahead into the rest of it so we can get to that later towards the end of the show. I say, let's go to the council meeting first. Let's get Hammonds' comment about the additional funds out of the way. I can then get on my rant about city bass fishing for a few minutes. And that way we can get right into our interview, which of course leads into the firemen and the policemen going toe-to-toe. Overpay.
Toe-to-toe.
Toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano. I would have put a blue boxing glove up there too, but they don't have that little emoji, so I had to use the little policeman deal and the red boxing glove because they don't have a fireman emoji apparently either. But anyway, I digress. Right. So what do you say, Mr. Lowry? Shall we do that?
Yeah, it's a little out of order. I mean, let's set the stage. So today was a council meeting, and pretty lame council meeting. There wasn't a lot on there, but so at the last minute today, we got a call that said, "Hey, there's supposed to be a press conference at 2:00, so to address the billboard that we showed earlier by the Bossier City Police or the policeman, which I want to point out, we've been saying that it was the FOP, but I want to make sure that folks know, as I've described before on the police department, historically in Bossier, the firemen have always been on the same page. Policemen have always kind of not been on the same page. They've always kind of been, fighting amongst themselves. They kind of had two different factions and whatever, but, not so much the case anymore, and this is a prime example, like the billboard that we showed earlier, we egregiously said it was the FOP. What I got to tell you, it's not just the FOP, it's the FOP and the local union 645. They're all on one team. They're all together. They're not divided. And, they're working together on this, So I guess to people down in Bossier that makes sense. To lay people that may not make that big of a deal to them. But I'm going to tell you, it is a big deal because the police have not always been on the same page. Well, they're on the same page now. And I think even you would agree that they're bearing fruit from their labor.
Oh yes, I would tend to agree with that wholeheartedly. And yeah, we want to make sure and give credit where credit is due to everybody. All right, so
we showed up to. I know, but we got to break this down for people so they'll understand the timeline. So we showed up at 2:00. There was supposed to be this press conference, right?
Right.
To where, the public information officer, Lewis Johnson, was going to, speak to the issue of police raises and stuff. Well, there wasn't a press conference, but we ended up getting an interview with Lewis Johnson regarding the issue.
Right, but you have to back up for just a little bit though. because
Okay.
when we walked in, Tommy was standing there, and we, as a matter of fact, rode up in the elevator with Tommy, and we asked Tommy about a press conference or whatever, and he didn't have any idea that it was going on.
That's what he said.
Right. And so we had a pleasant little chat as we rode up in the elevator, and then we managed to find Lewis. And anyway, I was in his office, and he was very accommodating.
Okay. So then, we did the interview. We left. That's when we had the interaction, or the lack of, with David Montgomery. I was worried about his umbrella. Jeffrey, he did as much as he could do. And we left. Then they had the council meeting. And so if we want to go through that at this point, well, we'll go there.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. We've kind of set the stage. So here we go. This would be the reading of the ordinance for apparently it's a park or some sort of park maintenance building or something, but here we go.
To amend ordinance number 2 of 2024, appropriating an additional $100,000 in funds from the Riverboat Capital Projects Fund to supplement funding needed to construct the new Walbrook Park Maintenance Building, and awarding the bid to Block Builders LLC in the amount of $479,000. First reading.
So move.
Second.
First by Councilman Williams, second by Councilman Maggio. Comments from the audience? Questions from the council?
Yeah, Mr. President, I do. I've been against this project from the beginning, so it's not any shocker that I'm speaking on this. I don't see the need for this. That we're building a building for a Dixie baseball league and little league that has nothing to do with the city. I don't think it's the right time for us to be spending $479,000 on a building. We've got employees quitting every day from this city, leaving, going elsewhere for higher paying jobs. And I don't see the need in it. We've got buildings down at Tinsley. If they need to house equipment, it can be moved back and forth. It's just something, I think it's bad timing right now for the city to be spending this kind of money. No matter where we're getting the money from to do it from, we don't need to be doing it. That is my thoughts on this.
Well, we'll stop there because that was pretty much all the discussion. They voted to do it anyway, as you can imagine.
And Chris Smith, he spoke up and he said, "I echo Mr. Hammond's sentiments." And they voted, and of course, Hammonds and Smith got beat down.
Yeah, as usual, the dynamic duo voted against what I would call extraneous expenditures. Look, between the baseball and the tennis, I don't know, what are they going to do next? Pickleball or whatever. I want bass fishing. That's it. I'm stingy. I'll even settle for just fishing in general, but I think that we should have a city lake, a city-funded lake, and a city-funded fishing program. It could even be a quasi-private public venture, much like the tennis, and I think we should have that. I said it in some of the comments on the police pay post, but I mean it sincerely. I mean, wouldn't you support bass fishing for our youth and even for our senior adults that need something to do besides going around trying to swing a tennis racket around or whatever?
Now look, I'm going to go to a dark hypothetical place here. And I hate doing this because I hate when people do it to me, but I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this. So, and I'm not hating on the Dixie people. I'm not hating on y'all, and y'all want your money. You want your building, you want your facilities, you want all that stuff. But I'm wondering, how important will all that stuff be if, God forbid, and I hope not, but hypothetically, if God forbid, let's say somebody came out there with violent intentions, and let's just say nobody was exercising their constitutional rights, and interdicted. you then are going to all be dependent on somebody in that black cruiser to come rolling up and to engage. And so then I'm wondering, at that moment when they do come up, is in your mind, are you going to say, man, I sure hope that guy didn't have to work his second or third job before he came to work for this one to be able to pay his bills, and he's on his A game. I hope that this was the only job that he had to be working to be able to pay his bills, because he's paid, less than everybody else. I'm just wondering if you would think that. So,
well, but wait a minute. If we do bass fishing, there have been zero incidents such as that at bass fishing tournaments. Because most of the time you're out in a boat. And, well, there's generally 2 or 3 people in the boat. See? It's a win-win if the city will fund my bass fishing initiative. I'm calling our councilman at large, Chris Smith, and I'm even going to call Queen David. I want them to get behind this.
Well,
I don't think Queen David will at all, but
you immediately made my mind go to some of those lakes down there in South Texas, close to the border, and I've heard some stories about some things
that's
down there.
Down there, close to the border. I mean, you've already shown in video that when they come through here, they're still on buses. They just keep right on going.
No, they weren't on the buses. The buses were empty. They were strode out in Walmart, Home Depot, and all over the daggum place.
They weren't in bass boats. See?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is I mean, if look, the tennis people, you freaking tennis people, I ain't gonna beat up on all of Dixie, but everybody all wanting all of these little special things. I mean, when you need that cruiser to come pulling up, do you want them folks to be on their A game or not?
Wait a minute. You keep trying to get me off topic here, and I just refuse to do it tonight. Andy Monica, thank you for helping me out. Andy says, where have you decided to dig this lake? Well, Andy, I'm glad you asked, because they've already started. I have just learned today that the pond out there, the small pond out there in front of City Hall, is stocked with bass. We have a good place to start right there.
Now, I am very confident that you were told that in confidence, and you just broke that confidence here on God, in front of God and everybody. I mean, that's not for everybody to know.
Breaking news for bass fishermen all over Bossier City.
So
you're gonna see me with my boat backed off the sidewalk right there, trying to get it launched into the pond.
Okay, I had somebody message me, and they say they're referencing that the city does have a lake.
Wait, what?
They're telling me that the city does have a lake, and I know what lake they're talking about. And they're talking about a lake. If you were traveling on 220 from, say, Benton Road to cross over the Red River heading into Shreveport, it would be on your right on the north side of the interstate.
That lake with all the little bubbly things coming up in it.
That's right. But I want to correct someone on that. They seem to think that the city owns that. Well, that would be incorrect. The city does not own that. The city has a lease to a long-time family in Bossier City, and in that 100-year lease, or something around 100 years, something, I don't know the exact years or whatever, but I do know it's this deal that the landowners have a pretty strong lease that pretty much the city don't really get all the use and that they want.
Yeah, not quite city owned, huh?
Okay, so I can tell you another story, and I'm not going to say any names, but I will tell you this, and I know that it happened. There was a mayor one time, and there was an administrator of a department within Bossier City. He was jacking with a few people within that department, and they phoned a friend. Well, that administrator kept jacking with those employees in Bossier City, and the next thing that happened, they were being summoned to the mayor's office. And when they get there, the administrator, the mayor were all sitting in there, and the landowner was in there. And when they got in there, the mayor says to the administrator, says, now I understand correctly. What you're telling me is that these individuals, you're having a problem with them. And the administrator, yeah. And the mayor says, this is the landowner, and he happens to be friends with them. And, oh, by the way, he's got something to say. The landowner steps up and says, well, Mr. Mayor, said, your administrator needs to understand that if anything happens to these individuals, said, you're going to need to figure out what you're going to do for water for the city of Bossier. And it's like, okay, well, why is that? And he said, well, because I own the land, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to blow that levee up on there, and you're not going to have no water. So you do what you want to do with these employees, and, I'm going to do what I want to do with that levee out there. So it's your decision. You do what you want to do. That happened. I'm not going to say what mayor. People would be able to figure out the landowner, but that's a fact. It happened.
Well, I always make fun of Bossier City because we draw water out of the Red River for the drinking water, which is also downstream of one of the sewer treatment plants, but that's a whole other story. But back to my bass fishing, and let me spend another minute, and then I'll get off the topic here. I have another proposal, Duke. I think this is a win-win for everybody, and I see that our good friend Mike Collier is in the comments as well. Good to see you tonight, Mike. He says creating facilities and services is what taxes are for. Programs for youth is necessary for any decent town. See, even Mike Collier thinks that my bass fishing deal is a great thing to get behind. And so I have another proposal.
Okay.
Why? And this would arguably be cheaper for the city, less expensive, by the way. The city could just take over Cypress and Black Bayou. I mean, look here.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Hear me out.
You're going the wrong direction.
It's a win-win.
I heard that today. I heard that.
Yeah.
I think we should go the other direction.
No. The Cypress Park generate or their revenue for the Cypress district is about $1.2 million a year from their millage. The city could come in for a couple of million a year. It would be great for Cypress. It'd be a steal for the city. We just annex in Benton. What the heck?
Yeah, and then David Montgomery could rule over. Well, wait a minute. He already rules over it, but
yeah, see, it's a win-win.
Okay, I got another idea, and the police may be mad at me at this one. Y'all may hate me for this one, whatever. I'm gonna throw it out there. Why don't y'all all just become sheriff's deputies? Why don't Julian and the sheriff's office take over law enforcement in Bossier City? Bossier City could do away with the marshal's office, the Bossier City police, and all the Bossier City popo could become sheriffs. Y'all would have better retirement. I mean, I think you would. All right, I'm gonna stop. Not until we get through these videos. Whew, I almost said something.
Thomas Shea says, Rex, you can't even get term limits on the ballot, much less build a lake. Well, yeah, I guess you do have a point there, Thomas.
Thomas Shea, wait till you see the end of this this show. You better hang in there for the end, baby.
and thank you, Christopher James Norris, our Democrat friend from across the river. He says, congratulations for crossing 200 Bossier Watch shows. Well, thank you very much. And, we've been doing this for a long time, and well, apparently we're going to keep doing it. Hey, I did want to bring in one thing though. Let me switch screens one more time, and then we'll move on. So here's the post for the Shreveport recruiting. All right. So switching gears, we'll get back on the police and fire, and I'll get off of my soapbox about the bass fishing because apparently, according to some people, if we can't even get term limits on the ballot, then we certainly ain't getting no bass fishing team. Citywide, anyway. All right, so this was kind of interesting because we also shared this in the comments of the billboard post, is that the Shreveport Police Department is not only hiring, they are recruiting lateral transfers. So I guess a lateral transfer will be from one police department to another. $10,000 sign-on bonus. 18 paid vacation days. Looky here, this last one, I don't know if you read it, Duke, but they get a 2% annual raise until year 30.
Yeah, but Bossier gets that too. All the civil servants get that.
Okay. So, what do you think of this, Duke?
Well, I mean, it just shows. I mean, Shreveport and Chief Smith in Shreveport. He's been a chief for a long time. He knows about law enforcement. I mean, he's been around the block, and he knows the importance of having law enforcement. And it's hard they have to. Okay, somebody made an argument. They said, look. And I don't agree with them. They said, well, Shreveport's a whole lot more dangerous. The job's a whole lot more tougher. They should make more money than what Bossier. Well, okay, that ideology I don't subscribe to.
No.
I mean,
Hutchinson,
I think Trey Hutchinson would disagree with you about the danger.
Not just that. The numbers and the math don't lie. Okay? So the statistics are that while Shreveport does have a higher murder per capita rate and a slightly higher on some violent crime per capita rate. The truth is, Shreveport and Bossier are pretty much on par, and Shreveport's actually slightly safer by the numbers, again, per capita, than Bossier is in some respects. But I would argue some of the Bossier boys need to go over there and help the Shreveport boys out, and I bet you they would get Shreveport under control pretty quick. No slight to the Shreveport PD over there. But if we sent some Bossier boys over there, I'm pretty sure they get that thing whipped into shape pretty quick.
Well, I don't know. There's good and bad to everything. I mean, Bossier historically has been able to be a little bit more aggressive on their law enforcement, unlike what Shreveport can do. I mean, it's the same way with the fire service over there. Their tactics are a little bit different. And, there may be something to that, but either way, the danger is no less in being a Bossier cop versus being a Shreveport cop. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, it's not. I've done it. I mean, I've done it. I've rode around with these guys. I wore their badge with the gun on the side and done it. I'm just telling you.
The shootout at Valero not too long ago. Prime example.
It is a thankless job that, I mean, I would not do it. I commend those guys that do it. I would not do it for a living. I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. And why they continue to do it, I don't know. I'm just thankful that they do it.
I've said this many times. It's not just the danger factor. It's having to put up with a lot of parts of society, that are just sometimes not good people. I mean, they don't have the best intentions and, of society in general in mind. And unfortunately, the cops, whether they're Bossier, Shreveport, pick your, town or city, they're having to deal with people that are breaking the law a lot of times. And they have to deal with people that are very emotional in many of these domestic situations and all this other stuff that they have to deal with. I couldn't deal with that. I really couldn't. At least not very well, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And try to stay within the law as an officer. I mean, that's got to be the tough part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, and look, cops are human. They have bad days. And more importantly, what lay people don't understand is while they have to go out and they have to prosecute the law, they have to, they're not, I mean, I shouldn't say required, but it's almost as if it's required for them to be perfect. Every interaction they have with you and every action they take, they have to be perfect. That is the spectrum that their actions are viewed through. That it has to be perfection. And then, oh, by the way, at the same time, they're a political pawn and they have to play politics without playing politics, and then not have government coming in trying to chop their heads off for doing it. I mean, and it's not worth it. How many of you would be able? I mean, would do that? You wouldn't. It takes a special person.
And like you, I've been, critical many times of police officers and the police departments and all that, but I also do understand the flip side of the coin that we've been discussing. It truly is a thankless job in many cases. And
now I want to make another point, because there's some people that they just hate the popo. Some people's had bad experiences, and look, the reality is there's bad people in all walks of life. There's bad people. Literally, I swear, I went to Whataburger this week to get a meal. I get my drink, and the lid's freaking not on it. I swear to you, I think they hand you that drink with the lid off of it in the hopes that you're going to dump it in your lap so they can stand there through the window and laugh at you and gladly give you another one for a second try at it if you want. But
I got to ask Duke, though, did you call 911 and report that, though? Because there are literally people that do that, too. Can you imagine being a cop and having to go out on some call like that?
No, but I'm just saying, the point is there's bad cops, and there's even going to be more bad cops when it's not worth it to them to be a good cop or to put their effort into it or to try. So you're going to end up drawing people that don't really care about their job a whole lot, and they may be looking for. I mean, cops get their backs against the wall. They're no different than everybody else. They get their backs against the wall. And sometimes we've seen it recently in Bossier. You saw a cop make bad decisions, and I think it adversely affected the department. In the long run, I think maybe they're going to have turned the corner as a result of it. But I'm just saying, we've got to have law enforcement, and we're not going to have good law enforcement, paying substandard pay. It's not going to happen.
And my son Jeremy is oddly in the comments saying 9 times out of 10, if you're cool and be respectful to the cop, they will be cool and respectful with you. I am so glad he has learned that in his 20s.
So let's get back on point. We rambled a bunch here. Yeah, good job there, Jeremy.
Okay. So yeah, let's move back around. Do we want to do the Lewis interview first, or do we want to do the city council? I forget which order we decided.
Let's do the Lewis one first.
Okay.
That'll be the order of events today. And because I think after hearing the interview, because we didn't know what was going to be said in the council meeting, we learned some information in between the council meeting and our interview with Lewis that's pertinent. And I think it's best that we share it in chronological order. So
2-minute warning here, folks. If you know some people that are first responders, especially if they're police or firemen, you may want to tag them right now, because they're going to want to hear this interview and this information that we've got coming up. All right, so here's the way this is going to work. I'm gonna hit play, and then I'll pause the video, and we'll just go through it. And Duke, at any point, if you're ready to stop, just tell me and all that. So here we go.
Now, of course, unfortunately, the billboard won't be down the next day or so. So it wasn't a urgent type thing as far as discussing it with them. But I thought that the city council meeting would have been a time to not only speak to me, but others if they needed to. So that's why I suggested it.
All right, so I'm going to kind of pause for a second and remind everybody, Duke, you did a great job of setting the stage earlier. This was before the city council meeting. We were informed that there was going to be a press release of some sort, and there was not, but Lewis was gracious enough to do an interview with us on the record. All right, here we go.
Yeah, and it wasn't planned. We showed up for an interview that was supposed to happen, or a press release that was supposed to happen. That was canceled. We didn't get the notice that there was even going to be a press release, much less that it was canceled. But we showed up nonetheless, and he was gracious enough to meet with us. So,
all right, here we go.
So the press conference is going to be in regards to the billboard regarding the police that I think it's the fraternal order of police had put out, correct?
Yes, sir. Well, that's what the request was for. So I was going to field any questions that they had regarding that.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Well, a question that I have is it's my understanding that members of Bossier City government are saying that the millage renewal is for the purpose of giving firemen and policemen a raise. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
Okay, I appreciate that question. The first thing I would say is that both our administration and our city council, they really are very supportive and very sensitive to the needs of our law enforcement. So we are aware what their concerns are, number one. Number two, since I have an opportunity with this platform, I would certainly encourage anyone and every citizen to please support the upcoming renewal. It's a renewal, it's not a new tax, it is simply renewal, and it is not for a raise.
I'm going to pause it right there. So do we want to break apart any of that?
Well, I think we could, but he is. I think that he's absolutely correct in what he's saying. I mean, and I think it's and we say this in no certain terms coming up here. Say okay, so basically, this is just to maintain the status quo. This isn't about because what we were told. It was suggested that there were some people in I'll just say it over on the council. We're saying that, this was to be able to give them a raise. And no, that's not the case. This is just to maintain what you have currently. This isn't a raise. So there's a theory of thought on this, Rex. And I think we talked about this before. And I don't think anybody in Bossier City government, the councilman, the mayor, Tommy Chandler, in fact, Tommy Chandler ran, it was one of his things that he ran on. He said, we needed to get the police pay raise. No, I don't think anybody disputes really that the pay needs to be addressed. It's below average. But why hasn't it happened? I think
that is a good question. Because it's long overdue.
Yeah. So, here you have this renewal. If getting a pay raise is going to require you going to the public to ask for more mills, why did you not do it now? Why did you not do it now if you already know the answer to the question?
Yeah, good point. All right. So I'm going to hit play and we'll go again.
Right now, it's ongoing, and what it does is that it provides for the equipment, the resources, the day-to-day support of our public safety officials, our public safety departments. It's been ongoing, so it's really critical in that respect. But to say that the millage is for a raise, it is not for a raise. It is not a new tax. It is not a new millage. It is a renewal, and it is certainly critical to our goal as far as moving forward and meeting the needs of the police officers and moving toward the raise that they are inquiring about.
Good deal. Thank you for that. So this is just to maintain the status quo.
It's to maintain it, sir, and it's critical that we do that.
I want to pause right there because he said moving forward. Did you kind of catch that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So he says it's critical to moving forward. That's an interesting statement. All right, here we go.
Now, we know, and the council knows, the mayor knows, that clearly public safety is the backbone of any city. And Bossier City is very fortunate to have a great police department that keeps us safe. And everyone appreciates it. I promise you that the council appreciates it. I promise you that the mayor appreciates it, and they are aware of it. Right now in the city, there is a salary. There is a salary study that's going on even before the billboard went up. And the purpose of it is to look at all of the city employees, look at all of their salaries, and to determine where are we. Now, the truth is we don't need a salary study to know that our police are underpaid. So it's not for that reason, but it does kind of put you in a place to determine, well, where do we go? How do we compare to others? And where are we trying to get? So that was the purpose of this salary study.
Well, on that point, some people have said that, the salary study, the results of that won't, come back until after we're right in the heat of an re-election or afterwards. So it's a tool to push the action on the raise issue off until after the next election. And if I was a policeman, I would be able to see that point of view. Do you agree with that, or do you not? Or
I do not agree that that is the purpose of it. I really believe that it's very necessary. Otherwise, how do you determine where to go and what to do? So, of course, I'm partial. I don't hesitate to say that. But I think it's very responsible for an administration to let's do a study of all of our employees. Let's see how do our salaries rank as relates to others. What's a average or regional average in that respect? So it will help them to know how to get there. So my point is that it was not strategic. They did not come up with this plan so we can push it off for the next cycle. However, there is a time related to it as to when it comes back and that type of thing. But we understand that the police officers have a real concern, and they've had it for a while. So I think that the city council is working, believe it or not, I don't want to say feverishly, but they are aware of it. They've got it on the table, and they're prepared to move in that direction. It's just the questions of the how much, the when, and the how, and things like that.
So I want to stop for a second there, and let's kind of break that apart just a little bit. And again, like we said, we appreciate Lewis for doing the interview off the cuff. He had zero issues with it, and, we could basically ask whatever we wanted, and Dookie did a fine job of that. But he's talking about the time, and, he used the term moving forward. And again, of course, he has no control, and really neither does Tommy over the city council. But, I mean, how much time do they need?
Well, look, he is in a tough spot. I mean, he is the public information officer. His job is to paint the best picture on the situation that the city faces. He has to represent the mayor's office as well as the council, all of city government. And, right now their, sole concern is getting this millage renewal passed. I mean, nothing else matters. But this isn't nothing new. This has always been the business of city government in Bossier before it predates Tommy Chandler. We got to get this tool of funding. If we got a millage out there that supports the police or fire, and if the fire and police go out there and get it passed, it frees up money for us to do other things. So he acknowledges that we've known that we have a salary issue within the police department. He acknowledges it. He can't say, oh, we've known it and we've ignored it and haven't done anything. He can't say all those things. He's not going to say all those things. But the reality is that's what's happened is, the city council, I'm going to say the city council has patted the police on the head for a lot of years and just said, yeah, you just sit over there and shut up and take it. We'll take care of it when we get good and ready. Oh, by the way, we got to build a statue first, or, oh, we got to build another dugout, or, oh, we got to build another, toilet for Dixie or whatever,
Right. Very true.
So he's limited in what he can say. I mean, he did a wonderful job. I got to tell you, I am impressed with the job that this guy did and how he handled us. And we're not even halfway through this yet.
Right. Yeah. It's 13 we've got 10 more minutes left. And so we'll go through the whole thing. And folks, we appreciate all the comments, whether you're, for one side or the other or in between. We appreciate all the comments, and I'm trying to put as many up there when we pause to chat for a minute as we can. All right. So let's continue on with the interview for another couple of minutes.
I retired as a firefighter here in Bossier City, and I recall even when I was here that, we often talked then about trying to tie public safety to the Southern average. and that, that would take the changes and compensation over the years. It would take it off the table that way that, public safety would always not be in question about whether we're underpaid or not and risk losing people. Has there been any discussion amongst, city government in Bossier about considering tying our police and firemen to the Southern average so that we've got parity in pay?
I really appreciate that, but really, and I'm a retired firefighter as well. I did 33 years in the fire service. I love the fire department. I love public safety. And so I can relate to that. But if you're talking about a Southern average, obviously it's a moving target, if you would. And that right now, even with what they're going to do toward them now, that will probably suffice. And in the next year or so, we'll see that that's moving as well. But I think that's a reasonable goal, because what this administration's concern is not only letting the officers who we now have know that they are appreciated and know that their work is of value, but we also have to be competitive if we want to attract new employees. So you cannot very well attract new officers to come to work for you if what you have to offer right now is the least or the lowest. So we are aware of that. So the regional average is certainly a good goal. I think it's a reasonable goal, but it's unacceptable for us to be last. And I believe everyone feels that. I dare speak certainly for the mayor and for the city council as well. So we are concerned, and they are sensitive, and they care, and they do have every intention of addressing that concern. And not really because of the board. The board is a good strategy. We understand that. It's a matter of you doing what you have to do. It's not personal. But on the other hand, there are things that has to be considered as relates to budgetary concerns. And I'm not only giving a raise, but giving one that would be sustainable. That's what's really the concern, is to make sure that you're doing something that you're not only starting, but that you can stay with, that it will be sustainable, and while yet not being unaware of how it affects other city employees as well. So it's a challenge, but that's why the council do what they do in that respect. And as it relates to the mayor very much supports and wants to see our public safety salaries improve. But quite honestly, with the system we have in place, he doesn't have a vote on that. So it's not like the mayor can give the police officers a raise. I dare say if he could, he would. And speaking on his behalf, he's just not, that's not his role. He doesn't have the authority to do it, and the charter does not provide for him to be able to do that. So we have a very capable council who is ultimately going to make that call.
All right, so I want to stop right there and unpack that a little bit, because this is where, while Lewis is technically correct, and I understand why he probably can't say what I'm about to say, I take a little bit of exception to that, because the mayor has the bully pulpit. And I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, that if Tommy would quit taking selfies and learn how to use the microphone and the news media to his advantage, then he might could fulfill some of the campaign promises that he made that he's apparently forgotten about for most of his term. Would you agree?
Well, I think you're right, but I got something else on my mind. There's something here eating at me, and I didn't think about it when we were sitting there with Lewis. And again, Lewis was answering the questions. Look, I got to tell you, hat tip to that guy. But I got to say this. He's given the mayor kind of a pass here, and I really didn't think about it until after we left this meeting, and it was eating at me a little bit. It was eating at me, Rex, because I agreed with him, and I think I may even say to that effect here something in my comments. I think I say something to that effect, that I kind of lay the blame on the council. But I got to tell you, after I thought about it a little bit, I think I was wrong, and here's why I'm wrong: that Tommy does have some ownership. Here's the deal. Y'all riddle me this, everybody watching. How many budgets has Tommy submitted to the council?
Interesting question, Mr. Lowry. Let's hear from everybody in the comments. It's a test.
How many budgets has he submitted to the council? And in those budgets, how many of them included pay raises for all of the police department?
That's a good question. Well, I don't have a Jeopardy music thing.
I think, and I'd have to check this. I hadn't, but I got to tell you, it's been eating at me a little bit. I mean, I think he submitted 3 budgets, and I don't think that in any of those 3 budgets that he submitted a pay raise for a policeman or to address the salary issue.
Well, that may be true. Colonel Crockett is in the comments. Colonel Crockett, do you remember seeing in any of the budgets submitted so far any raises for police and fire?
So, my take on it is I got to tell you, I'm sitting here scratching my head about his sincerity, thinking about that. I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, I'm wondering because I question the council and their sincerity. And I make no bones about that. I've had that question for even before Tommy became mayor. But in thinking about Tommy, I'm wondering because his budgets that he submitted haven't reflected his intent to try to get them a raise. And he that was something that he talked about during his campaign.
Well, he's ignored a lot of other things that he talked about in his campaign. I guess why stop there? At least he's consistent in that respect about not following up. And look, again, Tommy was super nice today, and when we were riding up in the elevators, nothing personal. I mean, Tommy is a nice guy. He genuinely is. But anyway, I digress. Okay.
Keep going here. And you know, you said nothing personal, and it's not personal. I like Tommy. Tommy's my friend. He'll always be my friend, regardless if he's mad at me or not. Unlike David, that won't even look at me and soon beat me with his death by umbrella. He's got 2 methods of killing somebody: Zamboni and umbrella. But anyway, Tommy will still be my friend. But we just got to keep going with this because we'll get here.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, and the council, I mean, I was here when this council and city chose to require mandatory overtime of public safety in Bossier City because it by choice chose to run manpower at an unsafe level, to not adequately staff and tried to deem it as an emergency. So, I do respect as well the assertion that you made that you have to have a revenue to offset the raises, and we've heard Councilman Montgomery and numerous councilmen say we've got to find the money. What buckets of money potentially are we looking at or considering to be able to fund raises? I mean, even if the salary study comes back and says what we already all know is that we're not taking care of business in Bossier, where are we going to get the money? That's the $1 million question.
Okay. First of all, what do you mean not taking care of business? In what respect?
Well, if we had been maintaining our salary for our police, we wouldn't have police feeling the need to put a billboard up, to say that we're underpaid.
Okay.
And they already have statistics of departments, across. Just Shreveport is advertising $10,000 sign-on bonuses. And to the other point, and I'm packing a lot here.
That's fine. I mean, I appreciate it.
And you're good. You can handle it. I know.
No, we try hard. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure I had clarity as related to that. But to be honest with you, if we're to be honest, I'll take you to any department, any public safety department, and they are the foundation of a safe community.
That's right.
And that is the most important thing to Bossier City.
Absolutely.
However, you tell me which department you go to: Dallas, Shreveport, Fresno. You go, Frisco, wherever, and you show me a department where you have public safety officials that do not feel that they are underpaid. I don't care where you are. Find me one. I'll wait. In that respect. So the truth is that because of the nature of what they do, you really can't even pay public safety enough, obviously. So as relates to where we are, and your question, sir, as relates to what pots or where the money comes from or what fund it would come from, that's not a question that I can answer. Because the council does that, that is what they do. And that's what they're tasked to do in that respect. So if I was to say anything on that topic, I would simply be speculating. So I'm comfortable in saying that I do not know, but I'm comfortable in saying also that they are capable of, and they are going to work it out and do it in a pretty timely manner. And I know that timely is relative. what was timely to us could very well not be timely for our public safety. But I want the message to go out that we appreciate our police officers, and they continue to do a great job, and they are not requesting anything that is unreasonable. And I think that that's understood. But our citizens can help by supporting the upcoming renewal, and that's what the citizens' goal is, so that's what they can do. And I can promise you that the administration and the city council will do what they can do regarding that.
So I want to kind of pause it there for a second, because he mentioned timely. And again, nothing against Lewis. And he did mention that that's relative. But, I mean, relative to 2 decades that some of the sitting city councilmen have been in office. And our good friend David Crockett mentioned that, remember that over 10 police were cut from 2009 and never filled.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lewis is, again, his job is to paint the best picture on the situation, and he's acknowledging time is relative, and it's out of his control. I mean, and the question, he's right. The question, he can't delineate which bucket of money or where. I had to ask, but he's in no position to say where. Or what. And, I appreciate him taking a stab at it, though, either way.
Yeah. All right. So let's finish it up here. You got about 3 minutes left.
Last question.
No problem. Take your time.
A while ago, you was talking about, this nothing personal. And it's not nothing personal, but it was brought to our attention that, the Battle of the Badges was coming up. And that as a result of the policeman's billboard, that both the police chief and the fire chief have told the police representative that organizes the thing that they're no longer going to come and or participate as a result of the sign.
Okay.
So to me, that sounds personal. They are the appointees of the mayor, voted by the council. Seems personal to me.
Okay. I can appreciate that question. Of course, I cannot speak on behalf of the police chief or the fire chief. When I made reference to the point that it's not personal, I mean, we should not have an administration that's now angry because the police are seeking a raise. And we should not have police officers who are now angry because they have not as of yet accomplished that. I'm saying that kind of goes with the territory in that respect. Now, as relates to the fire chief or the police chief, both of them are in the area, so you can certainly speak to them and they can tell you more specifically. But that particular event, which is a pretty cool event, once again, I have a background in it, but I can only imagine what position it puts the police chief in, and that he is in that very precarious position of having to support the officers, and he does that. But he's also a liaison, if you would, as relates to administration. So it's not even personal there. And that the mayor is not offended with the police chief that you guys are doing this. So that's the nature of it. But as whether they choose to attend that event or not attend the event I think it's more of a matter of choice than it would be considered personal in that respect. And I can believe that this situation is about some degree of discomfort or make it uncomfortable for a couple of the parties involved. So I would think it's more of a personal choice than it being personal in that respect. Because I know that Chief Hogan, he has to, and he's comfortable. He continues to work with the men and women of the police department as well as with the FOP.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much for the interview.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it here.
So, all right. So I want to say something. I see in the comments, I see Melanie Stevenson Worley says, one would think that the police chief would stand behind his officers. So you remember me telling the story earlier in this interview when I was telling, Lewis about the mandatory overtime and deemed an emergency? Well, their fire chief of that time was J.T. Wallace. And to me, my opinion, and I think Marlon Monzingo was a good fire chief, but I think the best fire chief during my tenure as a fireman was J.T. Wallace. And the reason I think he was the best fireman was because when, the city council in Bossier and the mayor of that time, started forcing public safety employees mandatory overtime, and deemed it emergency because they chose as a management tool of the city to run staffing low, therefore they could do that. When they made that decision, JT Wallace, I remember Mike Dooley and myself, we went to JT and we said, JT, this isn't right. It's not legal. And if you continue to do it, we're going to file suit. JT, to his credit, said, you know what? You're right. And he said, I'm going over there and I'm going to tell them that I'm no longer going to require that of my men. And he stood up for their men. To me, that made him the best fire chief that we've ever had in Bossier City because he stood up for his men. And there was a consequence. There was. He ended up leaving. He became the fire chief of Benton as a result of that. And while I don't know the skinny details, but I'm sure that because he didn't toe the line of the city council over there, that was why he retired and left out the door and went. Had that not happened, he would probably have still been there. But that's the measure of a good leader. He stood by his men. And I can't believe that the police chief, and I'm just going to go on to say it, both Zagoni and Haugen, for you to say, we're not going to go and participate in the Battle of the Badges over this, and with all due respect to Lewis, it's personal. And let's take it another level. It's more than that. After we finished this meeting, it was reported to us that Tommy Chandler now says he's not going to it.
Wait a minute. So it's not personal, but basically the three head honchos in the city, as far as those departments, the mayor, the police chief, and the fire chief, are not going. I mean, do they have any good reason not to? Is there some other super special event or something?
It's directly because of this sign. They're not going, so I would say that the inference is that the fire chief, police chief, and the mayor, while they're saying publicly that they support their men, I got to tell you, y'all tell me, what do you think by their actions? Do you think it's, they all suddenly found the need to watch Sci-Fi Friday? There's this new episode coming on and they got to see it or whatever day. I don't know. I'm just saying it's bull crap, and Lewis, I mean, look, he's putting on the best face on this thing, but it is personal. I mean, it is personal that they're doing that. And Tommy makes comments at this council meeting, Rex, here in just a minute ago. I mean, he's turning going the other way, but he's talking like he's, all about it, and he's not all about it.
It's almost like double speaker talking out of both sides of the mouth, or what's that other thing? He who speaketh with a forked tongue. All those
but Lewis probably doesn't know. Lewis probably doesn't know.
Well, he probably doesn't. And like I said, super nice guy. We really appreciate him taking the time because he didn't put any time limit on it either, doing the interview. And that's his job as a public information officer. And we get it. Just that I was in the comments, kind of a long one, but says what Chandler needs to do is on every ordinance that is non-emergency that spends money, such as $100K transfer today, to veto each and say he will continue to do so until money is scrapped together for at least a small permanent pay raise. Let the carriers override, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he probably does need to do that, Jeff, which kind of alludes to what I was talking about with the bully pulpit. Tommy ain't going to do that.
If he really supported doing something about it, he would do that.
He would. Yeah, he would.
But he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He's not sincere on the position. I mean, right. He can say what he wants to say. I don't believe it. I haven't seen it.
All right, so let's get through the last minute of Lewis's comments, which I would argue are some of the best comments that he had of the entire interview. and then we'll get to Tommy's comments and wrap this thing up. So y'all listen closely, folks, because this is the public information officer for the city of Bossier. And even as critical as we have been to Tommy and a lot of other city officials, I want y'all to listen closely to this glowing endorsement right here.
The opportunity to talk to you guys. Believe it or not, I really watch you guys all the time, just to stay aware and to be to have a consciousness. And I oftentimes appreciate your program and your views, whereas I don't agree necessarily with all of them. There are quite a few that I do agree with, and I appreciate your platform and how you kind of put it out there. So I can't act as if I'm not familiar with Bossier Watch. Hell, I am. but that's not a bad thing, you know. Right. So in that respect, and if there's anything else that you would like to discuss, that's what we do. Of course, I should be able to address those concerns as relates to city government, as relates to this administration. I have a responsibility not to avoid you, but to address you. And my commitment to you is that if you have a concern, if you call me, I will be more than glad to speak to both of you regarding any concerns that you might have, especially you, Mr. Montgomery.
Oh, yeah. I'm just being the camera guy today.
Any other questions, sir?
No, that's all I have.
Okay.
Right. So, a glowing endorsement officially from an official in the Bossier City government.
Yeah, maybe we can get him to put in a good word with the king.
So we don't get those hateful daggers thrown at us across the sidewalk.
Put the umbrella down, David.
You're not going to melt. Although I have to say, I wonder if he's not been well lately. He didn't look. Did you notice, or was it just me? Well, he didn't look all that great.
Well, the way he was walking up there, I got to tell you, I've seen that walk one time before.
Okay. The walk of shame? No.
No. The way he was walking, he had a funny gait to the way he was walking. I mean, the last time I saw somebody walk like that, it was when I was doing my rotations at LSU. You know, to get my paramedic. You know, you have to do a week in every one of the, you know, in surgery, OB, the burn unit, and even psych. Well, when I did my week in psych, that's where I saw that same gait, that same type walk. Mm-hmm. And up there, they called it the Thorazine shuffle. Is what they called it.
Okay.
Just saying, like being sedated. I don't know.
Okay. Well, hey, we have mentioned on previous shows that he seems to be a little subdued in his.
I ain't saying that's what it is. I'm just saying it had a similarity. That's what clicked in my mind.
Okay. You may have a very good point there. All right. So let me switch screens and let's go to our good mayor, Tommy Chandler, and see what he had to say at today's city council meeting. Here we go.
To our council and to our citizens, how much we appreciate the blessing to live in a safe city. I also want to appreciate the hard work that our fire and police do each and every day to keep us safe, and I want to thank you guys. We have a millage renewal on the ballot for Saturday, the 27th. This millage allows for our public safety departments to continue to have the equipment and resources that are needed to keep us safe. I want to ask that our citizens would go out and support this renewal as we continue our commitment to the public safety of our city. I want to encourage everyone to stay safe and stay dry, because this forecast we got is going to be, you can hear the rain outside now. The citizens of Bossier can pick up sandbags at our public safety complex on Old Shed Road, and the hours are between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. The 23rd of this month, Senator Kennedy will be in town for a joint North Bossier and South Bossier lunch out at Bipstel. I believe
sold out.
Yeah, it's basically sold out. I just want to tell everybody that we're happy to have Senator Kennedy come in and talk with us and stuff. So other than that, everybody stay dry.
All right.
Well, he said, thank y'all.
Yeah. And he wants to encourage everybody, or wants to encourage everyone to go out and renew the millage. What say you, Mr. Lowry? Shall we say publicly what our thoughts are on the millage renewal?
Well, I'm not going to say I support or oppose. What I'm going to say is what what this millage renewal will do is exactly what Lewis Johnson explained. It will maintain the status quo, and it will not, bring salaries up to a competitive level for public safety. That it's not going to do that. There's no promises in that. There's nothing, in this millage renewal that will do it. I think each of you know the politics here, and there's one more tidbit of politics in this that Councilman Montgomery, right here at the end of this meeting, he asked some questions, and I think those questions are very important, and all of you need to consider this as well too. But let's play his comments, Rex.
Here we
And
go.
let people make their own decision.
Queen David on tap.
How we do that?
Hey, Jeff.
Sir.
Angela, can I ask you a question? And you might not know it right off the top of your head, but we roughly, have 23 mills? Is that?
Between these two renewals?
Yeah, total.
One's 2.71 and one's 8.32.
No, I'm talking about the total.
Oh,
millage.
the total would be 23, yes, sir.
Okay, and what is our general fund budget, 60 million?
Yes, sir.
Roughly?
Total.
Total,
Mm-hmm.
but of that, the 23 mills generates 20%? Or do you know that?
It's right around 15 million
Oh,
of
it's 15
the
million?
60,
So
yes,
it's a little
sir.
heavier. So for the 15 million, what is that, about 700,000 per mill?
Yes, sir. And I think it says in the language of the tax renewal what the estimated revenue is going to be.
Could we get that, if you
Yes.
don't mind?
Yes, sir.
Just at some point, just per mill, what does that mean to the general fund budget?
Yes, sir. I'll get that.
Thank you.
Now, I'm just wondering if everybody that watched that little clip, what is your takeaway from what he was asking? Why was he asking those questions? What's your takeaway from that? What does that tell you about that line of questioning?
And let me help clue everybody in. Remember, Queen David is a CPA and accountant as well.
I want to go back to Road Warrior.
Really?
Road Warrior. All right,
Okay.
and here's the easy question for everybody. Who runs Bartertown?
Yeah. Well,
say it. Who runs Bartertown?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, here's the deal. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that, they've had 20 plus years to address this. And to all those people that say, oh, well, if you have term limits, you have this brain drain and blah, 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 and all that. Look what we got now without term limits. These yahoos that, like you said earlier, Duke, are using our police and fire as political pawns and to play their little game. Why haven't they addressed this earlier?
Well, in his line of questioning, if he had been seriously looking at the numbers, look, let's just say it like it is. Darby, Bubba, Free, I'm going to say Maggio, they've all defaulted their votes and responsibility to David Montgomery to manage the city. And even before Maggio came up there, and I'm excluding Free and Hammonds because Free and Hammonds, they don't go along. They've been yelling as loud as they could yell that we got a problem. Then that's all they can do. They can't do anything more. If the mayor doesn't stand with them,
correct.
Yeah, Smith and Hammonds. If the mayor doesn't stand with them and the other councilmen don't go, they just got 2 votes. That's all they can do. They can't do nothing else. But my point is, if all those other councilmen, Bubba and Darby and Free, y'all have been defaulting your responsibility to the king. And if the king was seriously given consideration to address the pay disparity amongst the police, he would already know these numbers. He wouldn't have to be asking this question. So if y'all really believe that serious consideration has been being given, or the math or numbers have been being done, he wouldn't have to be asking these questions. I'm just saying, that's my observation. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure David would agree I'm an idiot. That's fine. But Jeff Sadow, am I wrong? Shouldn't he, if he was given serious consideration, shouldn't he have already known these numbers? Why would he have to be asking these numbers? Am I right?
Absolutely fair point.
So all of this is just wag the dog. It's all for show.
Dog and pony show it is. What say you, folks, in the comments? And we appreciate all the comments because y'all have been lighting it up pretty good. Grady Davis says they use teachers in the same way. Yes, Grady, the school board typically uses teachers in much the same way that the city council and the mayor's office are using our policemen and firemen and women.
But interestingly, so we haven't talked about term limits in Bossier City. That is one of the reasons, so that's one of the reasons that, the term limits effort, why we kicked it off, because, you've got, I ain't gonna say organized crime, but organized government. It's controlled. It's not, allowing discourse to happen. There hasn't been, to be able to let a lot of this stuff come to the surface. So, but term limits would kind of change the seats a little bit, and it would allow some of this stuff to come forward. So the current term limits effort in Bossier, Bossier police, firemen, you can't be politically active. I mean, you can hang your hat on the Hatch Act that you couldn't, go supporting a proposition to get signatures on. I think there's a case to be made that you could, but we'll just go along with the Hatch Act and say that you can't. But you know what? You've got a family member that could come help get those signatures. I don't know whether enough signatures will be collected in time to get this or force this on the ballot or not. I don't see enough activity happening, for it to be successful at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But if folks feel strongly about changing Bossier City government, you better step up to the plate. But, and I hate to even bring this story up to tell y'all about this, because I don't want the people that are trying, I don't want you to lay down and hang your hat on this, that this is going to be the saving grace. But fortunately, there is a state legislator, Rex, that has the wisdom, that's trying to affect term limits on all local governments across the whole state of Louisiana by virtue of a bill.
Oh, really? Is that the bill that we want to take a look at towards the end of the show? Is that the one I've been waiting for?
That's the one you've been waiting for. So,
I mean, that would be HB 273?
HB 273 by Representative Rodney Scammerhorn. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him. And Chris Norris, you're right. Jeff Sadow, he did put out an article about it today. So he has this HB 273, and I'm going to encourage everybody. We don't do this often, but you guys, all of you, you should identify your senator and your representative, and you should email them and tell them to support HB 273 as written. No amendments. Support it, because I can tell you the LMA, the police jury people, all them people are going to come out with all of your tax dollars fighting this tooth and nail, and Scammerhorn, you can bet they're going to run an army of people against him to try to beat this guy back. They're going to try to crush him. I mean, and y'all need to stand up and support. When a guy puts his neck out here like this, you need to stand up and support him. But he basically has a bill here to on all municipalities, police juries, to put a 3-year term, and after they've done the 4-year terms, Rex, they're termed out. They can't run again. Retroactive.
A retroactive. Well,
And
I
you
hate.
want to know the date? As of January 1, 2025, if you've served all those terms, you're done. So that would apply to Bossier City Council, coming up here in the next elections in 2025.
It's almost like this guy must have been watching our show or something, and watching what the Term Limits Coalition is attempting to do up here.
It's almost as if he knew.
Imagine that. Yeah, so I'm just showing it here. We will post a link to this and just that out, of course. We encourage you to go read the bossierviews.substack.com because Jeff puts out a lot of really good information there, including about this. I'm just kind of scrolling through the text of the amendment. I know it may be a little small for you to read. Again, we'll put a link to it in the on Bossier Watch and a copy of this bill. And like Duke said, reach out to your legislator and let them know that you absolutely support this bill and need them to do the same.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the argument that we're going to have this brain drain, I mean, I hate to say that's the best argument I've heard so far.
Honestly, I think you're right. It is the best argument because there are a lot of cases, as we can see with our own city council, that we need to have a brain drain.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a good argument. When somebody makes that argument to you, say, yes, that's exactly what we need. A brain drain of many of our government officials and insert some new brains in there.
Couldn't agree more. HB 273, y'all, get on it. Send an email. You don't know how much that matters. Send an email, and don't even stop at your legislator. Be high achievers. Send it to other legislators. I mean, we need to get some changing out. We need to get some new blood and stuff. And hey, I did want to go back to a comment way at the beginning of the show, and I wanted to thank him. I ain't gonna be able to find it. I think it was Larry Hadley. Anyway, or Larry Hawkins.
Larry Hawkins. Hold on. This one right here?
Yeah. Thank you, Larry. And yes, I did. And I am looking forward to, for the third time, being a Trump delegate to the National Convention. And hopefully, in 2016, we were able to move the party platform to the most conservative platform in the history of the party. 2020, we weren't able, I was a delegate elected that time, congressional delegate. We weren't able to have a convention because of the COVID farce. And so anyway, here we are now. We're going to have another one. And I hope that we can move it to a even more limited government conservative platform once again.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Lowry, on your designation as a delegate. That is pretty cool.
I was thinking too. I was thinking that, like in 2016, I was able to get like some really cool people, like took pictures and interviewed, and like Mike Flynn, General Michael Flynn.
Yeah.
Even did a little short interview with him, and he recognized Bossier, and he was talking about how his time he had spent some time at Fort Polk and would come up to Barksdale frequently, and talked about how much he enjoyed his time around our area. That was really cool to end up seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't cool to see him go through everything he went through, but it was interesting to know that hey, I was just having a conversation and interviewed this guy, and then he's right there in the forefront of all the national media and all the controversy, and that's a big deal.
Maybe this time you'll have a little better platform and can score some more interviews or sound bites while you're rubbing elbows with everybody.
I hope so. And I will tell you, I want to apologize to everybody. I had hoped that we were going to have a special guest on our 200th show, and I'll go ahead and tell everybody who it was. I mean, it was supposed to be Jeff Landry, our new governor. But that kind of fell by the side because there was a conflict, and understand how those things work out. But I feel pretty confident that here in the near term, we're going to be able to have Jeff on to talk to everybody, about what's going on in Baton Rouge, and maybe as it would relate to Bossier. And because I think a lot of people in Northwest Louisiana have some questions, some of this stuff regarding the redistricting, for the Supreme Court justices. I'm even hearing that they're fixing to redistrict legislative seats. They're going to redraw the legislative seats as well too. And there's currently a court case in Caddo on all of this subject, so it is all up in the air.
That'll be a great interview. It doesn't matter what show number it is. We'll look forward to having Jeff Landry, the Louisiana governor, on the show. That'll be an excellent interview either way. Whenever he does have time to come on, be great. I want to remind everybody, I had it up on the broadcast, but we are not far from being monetized on YouTube, to be upfront and clear. So if you go to youtube.com/bossierwatch or just search bossierwatch on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're about 150 people away from that, and what that means is we would actually be able to generate a little bit of revenue and income from our YouTube views, which means we can justify spending more time to bring you better content. So if you haven't already, everybody head over there, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, turn the notifications on if you want to watch us on YouTube as well. But hit the subscribe button either way.
Now, I've got to address another comment from Grady Davis. Now, Grady, don't tell nobody, but here's the secret to the bass at the complex. They bite right at about between 2:45 and 3:15 every other Tuesday. That's when you have to be there fishing. And they prefer the north end of the pond versus the south end of the pond. I'm just telling you.
Good tips. I'm going to go get rigged up now. I'll hook up to the boat. I think we can squeeze it in there between both of our trucks. How about that?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know. Let me get in the record business first, because I think we might be going to need it.
We might need it. Might need some bail money too. Anyway, Andy Monica says, great show, guys. Hey, look, we appreciate, as always and as usual, everybody that watches, comments, likes, subscribes, and all that sort of thing. Duke and I are going to continue to do this as long as we can, whether we're monetized and generating revenue or not, because it's fun and we enjoy doing it. And again, appreciate all the comments, even if you don't always agree with. And again, thanks to Lewis Johnson for the interview today.
Yep, stand-up guy, and look forward to having him on a live show on, whatever issue to come down the road. It may even still be this issue, because I still think there's more to play out in this deal. And, great interview. You're right.
All right, I'm going to hit the finish button unless you have anything else you want to discuss.
I have not. Thanks, everybody, and good night. Appreciate y'all watching.
I'm hitting the finish button. We're out of here.